Dawn broke over the dusty town square, and the air itself felt heavy with judgment. The gallows stood stark against the sky, its wooden beam like a shadow reaching into heaven. Ropes swayed in the faint wind, whispering of what was to come. A hush clung to the gathered crowd, broken only by the creak of boots on dry boards and the rustle of skirts as women pulled their shawls tighter. In the center stood a girl with wrists bound, her bare feet darkened by dirt and her eyes steady despite the trembling of her hands. Evelyn May Carter. Too young, too quiet, too poor, and yet here she was, offered up to satisfy the cruel hunger of gossip and the iron will of men who ruled by spectacle. Her hair hung loose, and her lips moved silently, whether in prayer or in farewell. No one could tell. The townsfolk stared, some with pity, others with a gleam of cruel satisfaction. They said she was indecent, a temptress, guilty of bringing sin into the streets. They said she had led men astray, when all she had ever done was refuse the judge's nephew on a dark night when he pressed her into the shadows. Her refusal became the town's entertainment, her name smeared in saloon whispers until she was branded a corrupter of virtue. Judge Horace Blackwood presided with cold eyes and a faint smirk, his black robe rustling as he took his place, already savoring the day's grim theater. Evelyn's life had been nothing but labor and silence. She had washed other people's sheets, scrubbed their steps, served their drinks, and endured their sharp tongues. She had no family to defend her, no coin to buy favor. The law did not belong to the poor. It belonged to men who could twist it like a rope until it strangled. She stood there now, the embodiment of shame the town had decided upon, though she had done nothing but try to keep her dignity intact. From the edge of the crowd, a shadow stirred. Colt McGraw leaned against a post, the smell of whiskey clinging to him like a second skin. His beard was unkempt, his hat tilted low, and his eyes bloodshot from nights that blurred together. He was known to the drifters and gamblers, a man who had once ridden with soldiers, but had been left with nothing but memories he tried to drown in liquor. Most folk dismissed him as a ghost of himself, a drunk not worth a second look. Yet, as he watched Evelyn, something inside him shifted. Perhaps it was the way she stood, small and fragile yet unbroken, or perhaps it was the echo of a memory, the face of his younger sister, long buried, who had once looked at him with the same pleading eyes before sickness took her. Colt's chest tightened as he realized this was no trial, no justice. It was a killing dressed up for show. The judge raised his hand, about to signal the hanging, when Colt's voice cut through the morning air, rough and slurred but clear enough to turn heads. "You'll be damned before you hang her while I still breathe." A ripple ran through the crowd. Some laughed outright, pointing at the bottle still dangling in his hand. The drunks found his tongue. Someone jeered. Others hushed, sensing something more. Colt stumbled forward, his boots dragging in the dirt, yet his eyes were sharp now, burning with something the whiskey could not drown. He slammed the bottle against the wooden rail, glass shattering, liquid running down like a small offering to the dust. Judge Blackwood's smirk deepened. "And who are you to interfere with the law?" "A man who knows law ain't worth spit if it's built on lies," Colt answered, his words rough but steady. His hand trembled slightly, but not from fear. He pointed toward Evelyn. "You call her guilty? Then prove it with more than slander. Or have you grown so fat on power that you've forgotten honor?" The sheriff stepped forward, uncertain. Amos Turner had always been a man caught in the middle, bound to the law, yet uneasy with Blackwood's cruelty. He looked to Colt, then at the crowd, which now buzzed with whispers. Doubt had been sown. The judge's pride pricked like a thorn. He could not simply order Colt shot, not with the town watching. So he leaned back in his chair, eyes glinting with cruelty. "Very well. If you seek to challenge the court, then let us see what you're worth. Ride the bronco behind those gallows. If you stay on until the beast yields, the girl goes free. Fail, and you hang beside her." Gasps swept the square. The bronco was a wild, half-broken horse, a creature of fury no man had ridden without being thrown. To agree was to court death. But Colt nodded, almost calm. "Done." They dragged the animal forward, snorting and rearing, its eyes rolling white. The square trembled with anticipation. Children clutched their mother's skirts. Men leaned forward, eager for the spectacle. Evelyn's lips parted, breath catching. She had never seen this stranger before, yet his defiance planted a spark of hope in her chest. Colt swung himself onto the bronco's back. For a moment he swayed, as though the whiskey might topple him before the horse had a chance. Then the beast surged forward, muscles coiled, kicking and bucking with the force of a storm. Dust erupted, filling the air like smoke. The crowd roared. Colt's grip tightened, fingers tangled in the horse's mane, every muscle straining as he held on. The world became a blur of motion, hooves striking, the saddle jerking beneath him, his body flung left and right. His hat flew off, landing in the dirt. He clenched his teeth, a prayer gritted between them. Not for himself, for her. Evelyn's heart pounded with each violent lurch, her nails digging into her palms until they bled. Every second stretched long, as if time itself was holding its breath. Colt's body snapped back and forth, sweat and blood mixing, yet he refused to fall. The horse screamed, a sound of wild defiance, until at last, with a final surge, it stumbled and collapsed, sides heaving. Silence fell. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the crowd erupted, not in mockery, but in awe. The sheriff stepped forward, his voice carrying like judgment itself. By wager set, the girl is free. Evelyn dropped to her knees, tears streaking her dusty cheeks. She was not broken. She was alive. Colt staggered off the horse, bruised and bleeding, his breath ragged. He reached for her, not with grandeur, but with the quiet gesture of a man offering steadiness. Their eyes met, hers wide with gratitude, his hollow yet softened by the fragile flame between them. No words were needed. In that look lay everything. His redemption, her deliverance, a bond unspoken but real. The judge turned away, his power weakened, his cruelty laid bare. The townsfolk no longer whispered of Evelyn as a shame, but as the girl spared by a drunk's defiance. They would tell this tale again and again, the way the desert remembers everything in silence and wind. As the square emptied, Evelyn and Colt stood side by side, two souls who had been strangers an hour before, yet now tied together by survival. The crowd's roar faded, leaving behind only the quiet creak of the gallows rope swaying in the breeze, empty of its intended victim. And here the story slows, like an old man's voice softening at the fire. Because what matters is not only that she lived, but that in her darkest hour, mercy found her in the unlikeliest of shapes. Mercy with bloodshot eyes and trembling hands. Mercy reeking of whiskey, but carrying the strength of mountains. Remember this, friends, grace is rarely polished. It often stumbles, it bleeds, it slurs its words. But when it arrives, it changes everything. A girl once shamed now walked free, and a man once lost found himself again in the act of saving her. In the end, dignity is not given by judges or crowds. It's claimed by those who dare to believe someone is worth more than the rope around their neck. And that, perhaps, is the truest law the West ever knew.